this concept doesn't change bipolar 2, but it does change how you live and function within the bipolar 2. What could this mean for you? For me, it was the difference between life and death. There are 3 principal concepts that are my foundation base, and everything else in my life is built upon these. So the 3 components are bipolar outline, stressors, and mood disorder. Let me break it down a little bit for you. So the bipolar outline, which is the concept that I'm going to introduce you to today, can also be called bipolar map or bipolar blueprint. So this is the tool that I use to help me on a moment-to-moment basis understand where I am within my bipolar disorder. The next concept is stressors. And this isn't the traditional way that we look at stressors. It actually will challenge the way you see stressors. But when I grasped this concept, it absolutely changed my life. So to me, stressors are not good or bad. They're not happy or sad. They are not negative or positive, and they are not right or wrong. They just are. They are everything that I encounter in a 24-hour period. So for this example in the day, we're going to start our day of stressors first thing in the morning when our alarm clock goes off. And as you can see throughout the day, just interacting with anything and everything adds stressors onto me. Remembering that stressors aren't good or bad, happy or sad, negative or positive, right or wrong. They are everything that I come into contact with in a 24-hour period. There's also these big stressors like coronavirus that affects every part of our day right now. Then there's the moods and every emotion that we felt all day long. Then there's this just exhaustion from this heavy weight of all the stressors and this loneliness that we feel. And before you know it, we are loaded down with stressors. The more stressors you have, the heavier they are and the lower your battery will go and the longer it will take to charge. The thing about stressors is they don't just fall off of you when you crawl in bed at night. You can't rip them off and throw them aside and hope they disappear through the night. It's not how stressors work. The ones that haven't dissolved away during the day go to bed with you at night. And a lot of them will disconnect from you as you sleep. Or maybe you've had little stressors that day and you go to bed with minimal amounts of stressors and then you wake up the next day and you feel fantastic. However, for me, my day actually starts when I go to sleep at night. I get a lot of night terrors. So when I wake up in the morning, often I have loaded down with bad dream stressors. And they're really, really heavy, and I wake up feeling quite exhausted. There are times, though, I go to bed and I have very pleasant dreams, and I wake up in the morning still with stressors, but they are a lot lighter. So the next one is the concept of having a mood disorder. Now, this is something we all know because we have the illness that is a mood disorder illness. We know it. But when it comes to everyday living, we forget it. We understand the concept of having a mood disorder that's extreme, but we often don't apply it. There are many times throughout a day that I have to remind myself that I am living within a mood disorder, which means I feel things 10 times more the average person. When I keep that in the forefront of my mind, it allows me to be preemptive. I'll give you a quick example. My husband and I says something that's hurtful. And if I don't remember that I have a mood disorder and I react, my reaction in his point of view becomes absolutely extreme. So for him to have a reaction to mine makes his reaction extreme. Now all hell's broken loose. So when I remember that all my moods, now we're talking all my moods, that not just the angry or sad, we're talking the happy ones as well. When I remember that I feel things 10 times more the average person, it allows me the opportunity to dial it back. And if not dial it back, at least understand it. And sometimes just being able to walk away. So these three concepts we will be talking a lot about on this channel, because they are the foundational pieces that are built upon, and everything else that I show you and teach you is going to be built on this. So the first thing we're going to look at is mood charts, and these are just a couple of free mood charts that I pulled off of Pinterest. So the reason why I want to bring these up is because I want you to see just how differently I actually think. It has a high mood, a +1, +2, +3. It has a low mood, -1, 2, 3. And then there is a normal. For some people, these mood charts would be just exactly what they need. For me, I could never truly make sense of it. I mean, I get that I'm high or low, feeling happy, feeling sad. I get that, but the +1, 2, 3 or the -1, 2, 3, I get it's a level of what you feel, but what I feel has way more depth than 1, 2, 3 in either direction. So I found these charts way too simplistic for me. I get it. Why a psychiatrist would ask you to fill this out. And if I was dealing with my medications, I would fill this out for my psychiatrist. Then they would know if I'm sitting more in the lows or more in the highs. So there is a place for these, but they just didn't offer me anything extra. They just didn't offer me anything extra. I knew I was high, I knew I was low, but what the hell do I do about being in those spaces? So if you compare this format to mine, it's easy to see that I think quite differently. So what I decided I needed to do is add on to the simplistic version of these bipolar charts. I needed something with a more scale and more depth. So the first thing I want you to notice is I have no normal or no middle ground. I see myself as either high or low. You'll hear me refer to it as my bi highs and my bi lows. I personally chose to take out normal. Normal was super problematic for me. Having a normal was so overwhelming and it was really confusing. I would spend a lot of my time, energy, and limited resources trying to stay in these normal lines, and I was failing myself continually. So what I decided to do is just take it out of the equation. So now what I do is I just put my attention into the areas that matter. Giving up the word normal was not an easy concept to accept, but it was a hell of a lot easier giving it up than it was chasing it, only to lose it again. The one thing about being different is not wanting to be different. I pursued the theory of normal for most of my life and I never found it. Let me switch that around a bit. I found it. I couldn't stay in it. To make other people around me more comfortable, I used to find myself trying to stuff myself into this concept of normal, whatever that is supposed to be. And what I do know is that when my bipolar shifts, this box that I was in would break and I would be flat on the ground for everyone to see that I didn't fit into that box in the first place. My bipolar is so much bigger than that space. So to remove that space allows me to just work with the bipolar. Giving up normal wasn't easy. And if I'm honest, I have to say that I spent a lot of time mourning it. I spent a lot of time crying about it. But the tears have dried up and I no longer have that emotion attached to it anymore. My bipolar, I break into two zones, the bi-high zone and the bi-low zone. And in each one of those zones has different levels in it. You don't have to go through one level to get to the other level. My bipolar doesn't work that way. It's not fluent like that, where it goes from one to the next. There is a few exceptions, like in my bi-high zones. I often see the climbing effect, and there are often times in my bi-low zones, especially in that functioning and less functioning levels of depression area, where you see it sliding downwards as well. So there is kind of that concept, but not a whole lot. Adjacent to each other, you're going to see that sliding scale of happiness and the sliding scale of sadness. So these two places, they kind of work hand in hand with each other. One thing you learn is what goes up has to come down. So as high as I go is as low as I will fall. That is just the golden rule. And there is no avoiding it. There's no avoiding it. There's no getting past it. There's nothing I can do to change this. It is something that I have just learned to accept. And accepting this concept has allowed me to become preemptive. An example is, if my kids come to visit me, I know I am going to be in the bi-high zone of the sliding scale. So I really have to monitor how high I go. There is a very, very slippery slope between happy and too happy to hypomania. Remembering that hypomania is the beginning of an episode. And for reasons that I will share with you along with this journey, hypomania, as well as the vortex, scares the shit out of me. Having the knowledge of that slippery slope, I take the happiness scale very, very seriously. How I monitor this space is I use personally an acronym called DIGFAST. So here's how it works. If I have 2 of these symptoms, I consider myself in the +5 to +7 zone, so the caution to happy zone. And if I have 3 or more, now I'm in that dangerous slippery slope of +8 to +10. So I know if I spend 2 or 3 days in that caution area, I try not to go higher than that without forcing a shutdown, which is something we'll talk about at a later time. But if I spend 3 days in that caution area, that I know that when that is over, I am going to be spending 3 days in the very low energy. And this is where the stressors come back in. I would need to spend time in the low energy with no additional stressors. However, if additional stressors are introduced, I will end up being completely drained, and it takes longer to recover. And that is always determined on the amount of stressors. Now, I could tell you all the reasons why this feels so mean and is quite upsetting, because when I feel the opposite of sad, it's happy, and it is a glorious place to be in, but it's dangerous. So this is when the mood disorder foundation piece is applied, and whether I like it or not, I have a mood disorder, and because I have a mood disorder, this is the way I have to live. So moving on from there, above that, you can see hypomania. There's tons of definitions out there for hypomania. I'm not getting into that today. And above that is mania. I'm bipolar 2, so I don't actually enter into mania. So other than clinical definition or examples, I won't be able to take you there. Down into the bi-lows, the levels of depression, the functioning and less functioning levels of depression, that's usually where I hang out. The reason I call it functioning and less functioning levels of depression is because that is what it is. You can function, and then you get to a point where you can function barely. The golden rule in this area is to be able to lower and raise the bar of expectation. The key part of this rule is that you lower and raise the bar of expectation, not the depression. Here's what I often see happen with people who fight with depression. They wake up in the morning, They try to do something, and depression tells them whether they get to be successful or not. So it becomes this hit and miss. If it's a good day, you're successful. If it's a bad day, you're a failure. If you look at things this way, good day versus bad day, when you fight depression, you spend most of your time under these circumstances in a bad day, which means you spend most of your time feeling like a failure. So let's pause here and speak a little bit of truth into this scenario. You cannot sit in this position of feeling like a failure and be kind to yourself. So, what happens behind the eyes? We begin to hate on ourselves. And that hate becomes so violent that it becomes this medieval self torture that we inflict. Here's a great visual. So, we're in this process of self loathing, and we're finding more and more things about ourselves, about our past, the present, the future, and we're just hating on ourselves. And we grab a hold of this medieval form of torture, the cat of nine tails. And we begin striking ourselves with it. We hit it once, we hit ourselves again, and before we know it, we are just beating the shit out of ourselves and calling ourselves these nasty, hurtful, vengeful, degrading things that rip you apart kind of statements. And this is what we end up looking like. And all we've done so far on this bad day is get up and go for a pee. And this is the first of many, many beatings to come throughout this entire day. And every day that we have bad days until a good one comes along. I truly believe that if we hate ourselves less, we treat ourselves better. And there is a way to do it better than this. This is an important point I want to make. This is not going to be a simple thing that you just apply right off the bat. When you spend most of your time beating the shit out of yourself, you are naturally exhausted. Think about this. If you were in a car accident and you were thrown from the car, your body would need time to recover. And you would be physically weakened and mentally exhausted from the pain alone, let alone hating yourself for what you did or didn't do. The more injured you are, the more time you need to heal. Healing comes with a gentle hand when you're kind to yourself, not when you're holding the whip. When we beat the shit out of ourselves repetitively, we need time to heal the wounds. And because they're not on our skin, but they're in our minds, this process is tricky. Many things make up the whip that you beat yourself with. None of them are kind. And because they're in a place that only you have access to, this means that the kindness you need to heal is only offered by your hand. It is a process, and we will talk a lot about it. What I don't want you to do is recognize this as truth, then take yourself out back to the whipping post, tie yourself to it, and start a new beating because you don't know how or where to start with being kinder to yourself. This is usually what happens, but it is counterproductive. Let yourself be okay with the process of learning how to be more forgiving. Remember, when we hate ourselves less, we treat ourselves better. So what I want you to do is just start by hating yourself a little less. Learning to love ourselves comes at a later date. First, just start by learning to hate yourself a little less. It's a process that happens when we understand what the hell is happening to you. If you're good at self-love, then continue. If you're a self-hater, then one beating less is an excellent place to start. Okay, how do you take control of this bar and manually move it around so you can be successful? First, you have to assess yourself. You have to determine the heavy that you feel. Not if you're happy or sad, Because remember, you live in a mood disorder, and happy and sad are not the gauges that you want to use. So, how heavy do you feel? Second, understand your stressors. Ask yourself these questions. What is my allotment of stressors for this day or for the week if you're planning preemptively? How many stressors am I waking up with? How many stressors do I think I'm going to encounter during the day? How many stressors are necessary? Because you can't avoid them. Which stressors are commitments that I don't want to break? Which stressors are the heaviest, and am I able to carry them? If I'm already too heavy, can I remove some of the stressors from my day? How many extra stressors can I handle today? This one's kind of about setting boundaries, which we'll talk a lot about. Can I ask a friend for help? Maybe you have to go to a social gathering and you need to take someone with you that can do the talking for you so you don't have to. Maybe this gathering is one of those nodding and listening moments. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Yeah. I agree with her. Yes, I know, right? 3, now be willing to accept your limitations. Be your own advocate and make decisions that are in your best interests so you can feel successful. When you take the time to gather the information and when you're willing to accept your limitations, that takes the bar of expectation away from the depression and put it in your hands. Functioning and less functioning levels of depression. Let's get into it. When you wake up feeling light, not great, not happy, not sad, but light, you raise the bar and you do the things that you want to do. You have enough in your tank to make it through a whole day. Yes, you're going to be empty at the end of the day, but that's what it looks like when you are in a mood disorder. Knowing this means that it's in my best interest to take the next day and have less stressors within it so I can be in more of a recovery day. Maybe you wake up feeling heavy and tired, so you know your stressors will have to be limited. Lowering the bar of expectation and just being able to go to work and maybe make supper for your kids, might be homemade, might be hot dogs. You have to reevaluate the bar when you get home. And then you make a choice that makes you successful. Either one of those are successful as long as the bar of expectation is put in the right spot. Doesn't make you a bad parent if you were planning pork chops and settling on hot dogs. Knowing the difference is what will make you successful. Maybe you wake up and the heaviness is got you on your knees. Therefore, you set the bar low. So you crawl out of the room, you slither down the hallway, up onto the couch, and you binge on Netflix for a while. Maybe you can't lift the bar at all because you're not functioning. And the only stressor that you can handle, and it feels like a big one, is getting up and making it to the toilet and back to bed. Getting over the bar is not as important as knowing where the bar is and accepting it. What is in your best interest is not to hate on yourself because your bar of expectation is unrealistic for the circumstances in the moment. Raising and lowering the bar of expectation is an all-day monitoring system, all-day evaluation system of self and stressors, all-day informed base decisions so you can be successful regardless of your circumstances. You can raise and lower the bar all day long. You might crawl out of bed in the morning, and just by hating on yourself less, you might allow yourself the energy you need to raise the bar in the afternoon and play a game with your kids when they get home from school. 5 good minutes with the people you love is so much better than nothing. So many moments can be made and collected in 5 minutes, in 2 minutes, in one smile, when your child is telling you a silly story. I live in this space most of the time, and I have collected so many beautiful moments. When you fight depression, all you have is moments. So let yourself collect as many as you can. Depression, it numbs the feeling of happiness, but it doesn't kill the special moments. And when you collect enough of those precious moments, you can stitch them together and it becomes this motion picture of all the reasons why you need to stay alive. You're allowed to feel nothing and still collect those precious moments that you can revisit when you feel less numb. My feelings don't dictate my happiness. My moments do. And the more you let yourself succeed, the more successful you become. And being successful builds a trust in yourself that failure destroys. By raising and lowering the bar of expectation is a good way to do that. Hating yourself less means understanding more. Dense depression. This is the place. Everything, and I mean everything that you have ever hated about yourself, everything that you think you did wrong, everything that shames you, scares you, guilts you, every last word, look, assumption, truth, lie that was told to you or you told, the hate from others, the abuse you suffered, the sexual, the physical, the psychological, the emotional, the spiritual, the things that you did to others, the things that you couldn't stop or the people you couldn't protect, everything that you don't want to remember, everything that you've buried out back, hidden for years because you don't want to deal with it and you don't want to face the pain of it because it hurts, all of it comes to life in this place. This is the place that hunts you. I survived this place by knowing what is the truth, what is lies, and what I have dealt with. When I'm in my sane mind, I deal with the things that this place haunts me with. Because when I'm there, it is not the time or the place to deal and heal. I have to be able to scream back at it. This is not the whole truth. I need to be able to pull on the facts, not this warped perception of facts, not this perceived truth, but the actual truths. Truths that come when you work through the shit in your life with the person that can handle hearing it and the person that can help you heal from it. The more things you work through when you're out of this place, the less torture this place can inflict on you when you're in this place. This place shames you and it breaks you down to numb and lifeless. I have a lot of shame, but because I've worked through a lot of stuff in my sane mind, I won't be shamed. Suicidal ideation. This is something that preoccupies me. The thoughts, they kind of move through me without rhyme or reason. They're always close by and they pop up whenever. It's unfortunate, but it is a thing that I have just learned to accept. And unless it is combined with dense depression, I don't really give it a lot of thought before I push it away with truce. However, when suicidal ideation mixes with my dense depression, this is the place I call the vortex. I get immediate help. The vortex is the place that hunts you for your life. It is the place that no one should be in. I need doctor's attention urgently. The minute I cross into this space, I know that I cannot get out myself. I need help, and suicide should never be an option. When you enter this space, you are utterly alone. The vortex will willfully cause pain and suffering with no remorse. The vortex is tremendously dangerous because It's your doppelganger, which is a double of a living person. It's kind of like a twin, but it embodies the complete blueprint. It's the inner voice that knows all your secrets, all your shames. It has the deadliest arsenal of weapons to be used against you. It is the cruelest method of torture. The vortex fights you for your life. And the longer you're there, the darker it becomes, and the more susceptible you are to believing the misrepresentation of facts. The lies are peppered with just enough truth to make it believable. And then it just distorts those truths, and it makes this space the most dangerous of all. It shreds you until you're non existent. And it is no wonder that suicide becomes an option. It makes sure that you are helpless and exposed and susceptible to every deplorable lie that twists facts into fiction. And it convinces you with its distorted data that killing yourself is the best idea for everyone. And it's all lies. The only survival protocol that I have for this place is to get the fuck out of there as fast as you can. This place dissolves you. Its devotion is accurate and deadly, and the anguish is as real as the lies. Why is the vortex so deadly? This doppelganger embodies my complete blueprint. It uses my voice, my thoughts, to whisper these custom hate messages specific to me and my circumstances. It includes all the elements and aspects I hate about myself. It knows my deepest, darkest secrets, every disturbing fact. It knows all my shames, all the unspoken thoughts, every ounce of guilt I have ever had, every fear I have ever experienced, and all my perceived weaknesses. Then it uses everything that it has, and it gathers all that ammunition to convince me that it is all true. My doppelganger is cunning, convincing, and superimposes herself onto me. And it happens without my comprehension. I am unable to differentiate the takeover. She takes over my ability to reason. She absorbs my thoughts and how I process them. Then she starts to glorify all the negatives in my life and diminish all the positives. My memories are rewritten, just enough truth in there so the circumstances are the same, but the facts are distorted into fiction. I become less and less important to myself and especially to others. And I appear like I am nothing more than a burden. She goes until I no longer recognize the person in the mirror. She looks like me. She walks like me. She sounds like me. She talks like me. She thinks like me. She hates like me. But she lies at a lethal level. And eventually, if you know no different, you believe that it actually is you. This place is built on nothing more than lies. But left to its own devices, it influences you into believing that you are nothing more than a collection of distorted perceptions. The aim and the purpose of this state is lethal. It will hunt you until it gets you and makes you try to kill yourself. There is not a single person out there that can convince me that it is a weak person that fights mental health issues. It takes a fuck of a lot of strength to barely hang in there. And it takes bravery to ask for help. And it takes even more strength to hang on by your fingertips while that help is coming. Those who have died by suicide, I believe, they died fighting like hell for their lives. Sadly, they were just stuck in this horrible place too long, and their grip slipped. And I feel this deep ache for them and for their families. Mental health is perceived as a weakness, so we don't reach out and get help when we need it the most. To me, the only weakness lies in one's point of view. And I'm sharing my story in hopes that it may change your story. If you think it may do that, then I want you to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so I can drop a new video and you'll be notified.